Hey. I'll go over here. I go this way, you go that way. I go that way, you go this way. What? What? I think that's from Rush Hour. I go that way, you go this way. Hey guys. What's up? My name's Jake. This is my wife Natalie. Chris Hilken is out of town this weekend. Chandler was not here last night, nor was Steven, nor was Chancho. And so we are speaking this weekend. Yeah, you're welcome. So, not like a sermon like you guys are used to. If you haven't been to a service yet, we're just kind of just talking. I'm not a teacher. I'm not like a speaker or anything. So that's not what we wanted to try to do today, because that would just suck for you guys and it would suck for us. So we started our Love Is series, and Chris kind of introed it last week, and so me and Nat are just taking the first week, and we just want to we brought these chairs up here just so it would just feel like us talking to you guys, like if we were just in like a growth group or, chilling with you outside or something. We just want to share what we have found with love is never failing through our marriage and through just relationships that we've had. So that's what we're going to do, and yeah, we'll see what God does with it, because, You want to add anything to that?
Nope.
You want to say hi?
Hi.
She says hi. All right. So we're speaking on love is never failing. If you're taking notes, that's what we're talking on. The first thing that this was so hard for us to even get rolling on this sermon. We were looking at all the different subjects, Friday night, and it was after midnight. We're just why did we say yes to this? We can't speak more than 2 minutes on either of these. It just feels like it just goes by so quick. And we got to love is never failing, and Nat just kind of just started talking about how we have testimonies to that in our lives. So we just have a few points that we've just kind of learned, and this is the first one. We need to understand God's unfailing love for us and have our worth be in that. You cannot do love if you do not understand how much you are loved and if your worth is not in that love. It is just everything. If you go into a relationship and you're trying to get that from them, you're just going to be let down constantly because you're dealing with humans. The only unfailing love is from God. And you just have no idea how much he loves you. And until we just keep growing in that, and that is where we are rooted, nothing's going to work. So Nat actually has a pretty cool testimony with that. Hand it over.
Yeah. So we were just talking about this, knowing where you find your worth from. I think something a lot of us girls struggle with, but I felt like I had a pretty good handle on it by the time we got married, which was pretty young. We've been married for 8 years, so we were 21 and 20 when we got married.
We were both 20.
20? Oh, yeah, it was before your birthday. Just kidding. We were both 20.
No alcohol at our wedding.
Yeah.
People were sneaking in flasks.
Cool story.
They were.
It's true.
Toby Brooks snuck in a flask and he was drunk.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. But anyways, so getting married young, we chose pretty easy people to get along with, and there wasn't a lot of difficulty in our marriage early on. But I think, if anything, I caused a lot of the problems in the beginning. I was so excited about having this new role as being a wife that it became that was a part of my identity to all-consuming of my identity. And when that gets shifted off from just finding your identity as being a child of God and just having worth just in that alone, everything falls apart. And Jake will tell you that our first year of marriage was full of me crying often, and I don't cry very much, but it was a big like struggle of I just felt like I was failing it so much, and it affected all of me instead of just a portion of me, that I could be, still God's child but not great at marriage yet, which is totally expected being newly married. But and a lot of that had to do with us not prioritizing making sure we were in community. I think we just felt like we had our little community right there of our one person, and that was good for us, and it wasn't. And so making sure that, when we got plugged into church again and found a good place to serve where we were held accountable by our friends, and making sure that I made it a priority to be spending time with God, seeking him, and just getting filled up, knowing that I'm his child and feeling secure in that love, then it was much easier for any time that we ever got off a little bit or had a little fight, that I wouldn't feel like my whole life was wasted or I didn't know how to function as a person, but I could still carry on, and it could just be a small thing. And that's something that I still struggle with today, of if us having a fight or us being off a little bit just devastates me, then that says a lot about where my heart is at that time, and that I'm finding too much worth or value in just being a good wife or making sure we do marriage perfectly. And so I know that has to do with marriage, and not to put that as like, oh yeah, one day I'll work on that, but that's the same now with the things that devastate you, that wreck your whole week, whether it's your parents are disappointed in you because you failed on a test, and maybe there's a little bit too much of your worth fixed on being an A student or being a great child that your parents always approve of. Or a lot of times I also found a lot of worth in being a great friend, and if something is not meshing with you in your friendship, to feel like your whole life is going terribly because that's not happening, I think that says a lot about where we find our worth, and that's where we found to make sure that love is unfailing is to be finding it in the right source, and that only source is in God. And, I forgot, I had a real verse and the right verse. So if you guys want to turn to 1 Corinthians 7:23, this whole chapter he's talking about just our different roles. Some people were in slavery, some people, he's even talking about being single versus being married. And as they're struggling with what they should do, a lot of people wanted to get out of their situations that they're in. I think we're all often in that. Not that I wanted to ever get out of our marriage, but sometimes just feeling like, I'm not good at this role or something like that. And he brings it back to just finding your worth in God. And he says in verse 23, God paid a high price for you, so don't be enslaved by this world. Super simple and small, but I think that's one that I go back to often, of if God paid this ultimate price for me, then I have to understand, I already have value because it's already been paid. It's not something that I need to seek from him, or that I get a pat on the back from having a good marriage, and that helps me to suddenly raise my value. But my value is already fixed, and it's found in how much he spent to get me. And so that's one that I just I keep there with me, although I forgot the reference yesterday and didn't get that right. But that I go back to often, of reminding myself where I find ultimate value, and that if that doesn't ring true to me, then there's some things that I need to wrestle with in my heart, and that ultimately helps our marriage by me fixing that stuff. So, you want to keep going? Oh, wait. There you go.
Yes. Smooth transition. Here we go. All right. Sweet. So the second thing we had was just, you guys need to understand that individually, in every relationship you have, you guys are going to fail each other. Totally. You're always going to fail each other. And that sounds weird because love never fails. You're going to fail each other. But that's just our sin nature as humans. We will always fail each other. But that's not love failing. If you fail each other and through that you stick around and you work at it, love is thriving. Love fails when you leave and you stop working. So that's just that's so important for you guys to understand, because, that's just more expectations that if you have, you go into a relationship, love never fails if we do this right. Wait, you just failed me. But I thought love never fails. It's yeah, a human just failed you, but you have the opportunity to let love thrive by staying and working with whatever relationship you're in. That's not just marriage, that's your friendships, that's with your parents, everything. If you just give up on something because it's getting hard and it's not, the feelings aren't there, then whatever you're doing is failing because you stopped. So I learned that from my dad, because it was a reversed way, because my dad, he wasn't around a lot. He had a really rough childhood. He he didn't have his parents, he had a, more rough parent. Like, he was not a great dad to me, and then his parents were even worse. Like, he saw his mom, try to kill herself in front of him. His dad was never there. There was always on drugs, alcohol. Then he eventually went to foster home. And so he just had such a messed up childhood. And then he got on the pro surfing tour, which is just party, drugs, alcohol. And so, having a family in that and just not having any base of God or love, it was horrible. He was never there for us. And so whenever it was hard for him, he would just leave because that's what he knew how to do. He didn't know how to work at anything. And then a few years ago, him and my mom got remarried. And then a couple years after that, it got hard and he left again. Right when we were getting a rhythm with our family. Things felt like they were kind of clicking, and then the feelings weren't there. Things were hard. My mom failed him in whatever way, and he left. And that's what I tried to tell him, when he left the second time, I sent him a long email, and we even we went out to coffee, and I was just no, you don't get it. It's not love didn't fade. That's not what love is. Your feelings may have faded, but all that stuff can come back if you work at it. And it's just, we have such a different definition of love, him and me. So, and I've always said I'm never going to do that with my family. It's such a good thing for me to see, because I was don't do that. Now I'm I'm going to stick with that, even when we're having hard times. I'm never going to leave our kids, the relationships that I have, I'm not going to base it off of my feelings, because those go away and people will fail you. So you should do that too, I think. That point, just to sum it up, individually people will fail you. As long as you stick around and work, love is not failing. I don't know why this last one, I always have to read it for a minute and figure out what I'm going to say. So just take a minute, and that's fine. I'm going to take a minute too. Okay, cool, sweet. I guess this kind of just goes back to the first point, but for me and Nat, our worth isn't in our marriage, because even if we're trying to do this right the best that we can, and God is the center of it, we're both still humans, and so you don't know what's going to happen. You really don't. I told Nat I would bet everything that I have in this world that our marriage is going to last, but I would not bet my salvation on it. Because, the Bible even says, if your spouse commits adultery, it's okay for you to leave, and there's just certain things that, and we've said that we would want to work past that stuff if we can, and really try if that happened, and, we have no intention of doing that, and we even live our life, try to live our life in a way that just, even puts, roadblocks in front of that, to where I think some people are you seem kind of rude to girls sometimes. Well, yeah, because I don't want to come off friendly. It's and she's kind of the same way. But you just don't know. You don't know if one stupid decision is going to lead to that, and it's just a little blind. You're dealing with sinful humans, and you cannot be sure, no matter who you marry, no matter what. You hear all the time, even just pastors falling in that area, and we know people that have, Christians who have, split and gotten divorced. You just can't be sure. And the only 100% thing that we have that will never fail is God's love. That's it. Put your worth in that. Because even the best of the best relationships can fail. I think that's all I have. It's not that much, but do you have anything?
No, that's about it.
That's it.
Your little line on the bottom says...
I think I said it.
Yeah?
That's what you did last time. I'm not saying it right.
I think you skipped the end.
This part?
The end, the last line on the page. Says the only one love I'm 100% confident in.
I didn't say it exactly.
Yeah, you said in different words.
But I said it. You just weren't listening.
Sorry, I tuned out for a little while.
I said it.
Cool. Well, the way that you said it last night, or the other night when we were brainstorming for this, was I just said it. But the fact.
So you gotta work through this stuff. I'm not gonna leave just because she's being mean. Just kidding, you're not being mean.
The what he said to me the other night as we were preparing for all this was that the only one relationship that he's 100% confident is his with God, or in God's love from him, not even his with God. But that kind of stung when he said it. It was a lot to swallow that, oh, you're not 100% confident in our marriage. And, that might sound bad, but I think if you only had, 100% confidence to put in anything, that no way should our marriage have the majority of that confidence, that it should all be on God. And yeah, you can have the best chances and all the probability that our marriage will last and be awesome for 50 years or whatever, but ultimately, if we're putting confidence, if we're putting all of our chips on our marriage, then it's going to fail and we'll be disappointed all the time. And so even that was a gut check for me, that if that hurt to hear that from him, then that probably meant I was still had a little bit of that fairy tale in my head of like, oh, if we just make our marriage just perfect enough and that's possible and I can work towards that. But he does a really good job of reminding me to have our confidence in the right things. And yeah.
I think that's like the analogy that I use. Like, I would not bet my salvation on the fact that our marriage was going to make it, because it's like, that's like, if you're betting your salvation, you need to be sure on it. And the only thing I would bet my salvation on is God and the cross. It's like, it's like everything else in this world can go away. It's like you cannot be sure, And it's like I said, like everything that I have, that I own or is possible, I would bet on our marriage because I'm very confident in it, but not there's that 0.1% that's, you just don't know. Any questions for you guys? If you have any questions for us, for our marriage or relationship, I got to go in a couple minutes. We have another song to play down at the edge. So, but we've been opening it up to any questions that you guys have. So if you have any, and if not, then I'll just leave in silence. What's up?
How did you know that Natalie was the girl you wanted to marry?
Well, first thing, this wasn't when I knew, but we had been dating for maybe a week or two, and I just said I didn't know that we were gonna get married. I wasn't that, but I was it was probably even less. I was so comfortable around her, and I am always my whole life been so uncomfortable around girls, and at the minute if I ever found out that a girl liked me, I would just, I would get so awkward and weird. And then but with Nat, when we, started dating, it was just, it's like we'd been dating, forever. It was so easy. And so that was, when I, knew, oh, this thing, has, at least, a really good, foundation. We're friends already. It's just, I'm not trying right now. And then, I don't know, I guess when I don't know exact point, but the things that it was that she loved God, and we loved each other, and we wanted to spend the rest. It was really soon on, actually. We dated for 6 months before we got engaged. That's when we got engaged at 6 months. But we were just well, we're either gonna get married or break up. We're gonna. I'm serious though. Why is that funny? Yeah, I guess that's just, but in our minds it was, we know we want to get married, we could see each other, we could see ourselves marrying each other, and there's no one perfect person for you out there, it's not like I was she checked everything off in the box that I had for what I want in a wife, but it wasn't I never had a specific name there. If you're looking for that one person, then you're never going to know, so it was just I love her. She loves me. We're both committed to loving each other for the rest of our life. And, the foundation is God, and she likes the beach, which, no, that's huge for me. I'm serious. Deal breaker. Would have been, I don't even think I would have started dating her. Would have been a waste of time. So, I'm serious. Yeah, and so for us it was well, let's either get married right now if that's something that we can do, or break up and either we'll get married later if it's if the like timing works out, or we won't. But for us, just the like physical aspect of relationship was just like, it was just hard, like right away, like not wanting to get physical. And so we're like, well, let's get married or break up then. So it sounds like such a Christian thing to do, but that's what we did. So, it, yeah. Any other questions? Because I'm really good at answering them. Tan Man.
How long were you guys engaged?
Sorry, I was checking the clock. Like 6 or 7 months. Yeah, we were together for like a year, like before we got married. So it was quick. If I could go back, I'd have the engagement be quicker. Being engaged sucks. What's up?
How long did you know her before you guys started dating?
I don't know. How long? She has an idea of where we
No,
first
yeah, how
met,
long
but
did you
I don't
know?
remember that at all. We both grown up at the church, and then maybe like in junior high was when like I have my first like memory of like, cause she sang on worship team, so I remember seeing her on stage. But and then once we started when we got into high school ministry, we both started getting really involved like in leadership and stuff, and then we got on staff together, and so I don't know, like really knew each other 4 years. I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
It's as long as you remember actually knowing me that counts. So.
Yeah. I like don't remember stuff. I have like a bad memory, so I forget like events and stuff easily.
Yeah, ones that aren't important and stuff.
Works for her. I don't. It doesn't bug me. She's like, you don't remember that? That was special. I'm like, I don't remember. Any other questions?
Oh no.
What?
Do you guys like snow?
Oh, heck yeah. I've made one like once though. So.
Yeah, more sand angels. We like the beach better than the snow.
Anything else?
No. Sure.
I should
Going,
cruise down. You have anything
going.
else to say?
Not to say. Sea bass.
Oh, if you have a different opinion, actually, you can say it. What did we do again, though? It went good. It went really good. We got dinner from Buca de Beppo's, and we went to a park and ate it, and then we went to the beach. Didn't we go to the beach? That was the night we went to the beach, and there was like, we wanted to go like on these swings, but there's these kids on it, so I paid them to get off. And then I put that into a song that I wrote for her like 6 months later or something. 3 months. I know. So it went good. That's it. I got to go. I'm going to let Natalie wrap it up because that's the hard part.
Yeah, you can go with all the ahs. Yeah, it's last chance. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah. I am. Yeah. Yes, for juniors. Yes. That was what I was going to say. Like, we are not often, I mean, he's up on the stage, but we are not often standing with microphones and no music. And so this is like a rare chance to ask me questions. I'm definitely on the more introverted side, but I love you guys, and I'm so stoked for the new junior class to be here, and I'm excited to get to know you guys. And it might take me longer to get to know you because I'll make my way around real slow, but just to know, like, we both love students so much. Like, high school ministry is where we basically, like, fell in love, got to know each other, and we both love this so much, and we continue to do it year after year because we love students so much, and so I'm super stoked for you guys to be here. I'm sorry that your second sermon in 11-12 was not what you can normally expect from 11-12, but we're part of it. We're here, and so if you guys have any other questions, want to get to know us, feel free to ask us anytime. But I'll just wrap up real quick with a word of prayer, and then we can all get to hanging out. God, I thank you so much for your love for us. I thank you for that one thing that we can depend on to be never failing. And I pray that you would just help us to never get that confused with anything else, but to just keep you fixed as our point of reference of the one place that we find ultimate unfailing love, and that we in turn try and love each other in that way. I pray that you would help us to practice that, and most of all to practice extending grace towards each other. So God, I just pray that you would just send out this family of 11-12 that we're becoming this summer, that it would be filled with your love and be a great representation of the way that your church should look. And we love you, Lord. In your name, amen.